Hi guys, just wanted to do a little video about the NES Classic Mini that is coming out later this year. It's been announced 2 weeks since I shot this video, and the hype is still there. There's a few bullet points I just want to cover of my opinion of it and why I think it's just a great idea in general. So first up, the games. I've got a list in front of me of the games that are on this system. I'd say 90% of them are quality titles, so we're saying 27 games out of the 30 are absolute AAA titles in my book for the NES. You know, Donkey Kong Jr., they probably could have packaged that as Donkey Kong Classics, but they're two essentially Nintendo legendary games, even if the NES ports are not necessarily loved. The fact they've got all three of the Super Mario Bros. Games makes sense. Pac-Man, again, another arcade game that's relevant to have on a system like this. Both Zelda games, Super C, I'm guessing they couldn't get the license for the original Contra maybe. Punch-Out, Ninja Gaiden, Kid Icarus, Excitebike, the original Final Fantasy. So there's a big sort of collection of different styles, and then a couple of Castlevanias. It's pretty much what most NES collectors would have in their collection anyway, which does get me on to another point of who is the system aimed at. A lot of the collectors are saying it wouldn't be for them, and purist gamers and elitists or whatever. I don't believe that to be the case. I have an original NES, not with a hell of a lot of games anymore, but I would buy this as a part of the collection, because for its physical form and the way it looks and the quality number of games compared to the price I'm paying. You know, I own a lot of these games either on physical or I've downloaded via the Wii Virtual Console or Wii U. I probably own about 10 of the 30 that are on there, but that's not worried me at all about thinking it's not good value for money for someone like me, you know, a big Nintendo fan who wants that option of having a nice little NES looking console on amongst my other consoles in front of my TV now, with that HDMI hookup. And that's the elitist in me, that I'm not happy just to download the ROMs and an emulator on my laptop and plug that up to my telly. I want the physical Nintendo experience in that sense. One of the other notes I did put up is that I wouldn't say this is like any of the other sort of Sega Mega Drive related sort of multiple game TV plug-in type things, because they license that out to other producers to be able to use their games, and sometimes the emulation isn't great, or the sound's a little bit iffy, and the build quality is not always great. There's good value for money in the sense of the amount of games you get for the price, and the fact you can use a cartridge on these Sega Mega Drive Genesis ones, but the reviews are always, you know, the plastic's not great or something like that. If Nintendo are producing this console themselves, or they are getting a third party to do it, they're going to obviously be overseeing it, and therefore the build quality is going to be great. So again, that's a reason to own something like this. What else was I saying? So yeah, talked about the hardware, it's worth it for that sense. And the Sega equivalent, I don't see, I mean, the reason the Nintendo thing's such a big deal is because they've not put out these games as a multiple thing the same way the Sega Genesis collection has been released on various consoles over the last few generations, and you've had these plug-in play ones for best part of 10 years really, and handheld equivalents of the Genesis collections and whatnot. So they're a little bit oversaturated, these games, whereas the Nintendo ones are, yes, they're available on the Virtual Console, but you would have been paying a lot of money to get all 30 games. You know, in the UK, it's sort of £4 or £5 for an NES game, I think, at this stage. And yes, some of them are worth it, but would you want the 30 at that sort of price? So yeah, I've also slightly touched on the target market for this. I think it is for everybody, because it's gonna be put onto the shop shelves as a thing of anyone's going to look at this and go, oh, I used to have a Nintendo, or I remember Super Mario, or my kids would like to play Super Mario. So they're going to buy it. The convenience factor of hooking it up HDMI straight to your telly. But I do think collectors will buy it too. Nintendo fans, people who own an NES and a mass library. I just think it's something else with its beautiful box artwork, with remembrance of its 80s ways. It's good. It's something to own for the same price as a full price, AAA retail game now anyway. But it will sell well because that demographic will pick it up, and the parents of today, who are people my own age who have kids, are gonna want to say, I used to love that as a kid. I think my child would enjoy playing Super Mario Bros. 3 because, let's be honest, who wouldn't enjoy playing Super Mario Bros. 3? So it's kind of a free-for-all for everybody. I'm also intrigued as someone from England, which I really want to look into and study, that the NES was, people saying sales-wise, I guess stats don't lie, that the NES wasn't as popular in Europe as the Sega Master System was. Just from my memories alone, in the very early 90s, late 80s, early 90s of playing the NES, I had more friends who owned an NES than a Master System. It wasn't a lot different. And I don't recall like the toy shops like Beatties or like Woolworths or anything having more shelf space for Sega Master System games than they did sort of NES games. And I think the popularity of the NES was also overshadowed by sort of the home computer market in the UK, because during the 80s and the Commodore 64 and the Spectrum and BBC computers and whatnot, Amstrad, I wasn't really there to appreciate that. So I don't know if there's more owners of that who didn't jump on the console thing when it kind of kicked off over here. So yeah, I just thought I'd pop in that information about the UK appeal of the NES. I think it's higher than Nintendo probably give it credit for. They obviously in other markets, not Japan and not really Europe, because there was gaming just in different forms over here. The NES saved the American video game industry, but it also revolutionised it in the UK because it kick-started the whole console thing for us. And I think it's a bit weird when people look back and say that the NES wasn't that big in this country. Well, my memories say otherwise, and I was there to live it. And the amount of people who obviously know I'm a gamer, a retro gamer, and have posted this link on my Facebook of when they saw this being advertised. So the actual marketing's already going out there, by talking and social media. But it's going to be a huge thing. And Nintendo have got the NX coming out next year, obviously, and Pokemon Go is blown up, which I think will help rather than hinder sales of the next Pokemon games on the 3DS. Nintendo have gone, in the past sort of 3 weeks since Pokemon Go has come out and this NES Classics Mini console mentioned, they've gone from looking at a hazy end of year quarter financially to potentially a lot of money coming in for them. Let's hope they invest that into the NX really as well as things. So yeah, it's looking great. Out of the three major companies in gaming, Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo, the end of the year is really looking pretty good for Nintendo, because all things considered that they haven't really got any console new titles coming out, for the Wii U or anything. So yeah, fair play to Nintendo. They're using their resources well. They've held off so long with the holding their library away from these plug and play type things, but now is the right time, with the whole throwback, old school, retro minded nostalgia world that we live in now. So keep the marketing well, keep bringing it up and mentioning it before November, and I think they'll be fine. Talk about people want to go, oh, this is great, but I want a SNES Mini. I don't think that'll happen anytime soon. I think the licenses for the games would be a lot harder for them to get for that sort of thing, a plug and play for SNES games. I still think there's a higher value for people downloading them games individually on the Virtual Console. Nintendo are probably aware of that from the sales they get. I don't think a SNES Mini will be coming particularly soon. Possibly, you know, 3 or 4 years from now, but not in the next year or two. I can't see. I think the NES Classics or Classic Mini will sell well for a little while yet. I wonder how it's going to affect the Virtual Console going forward with new models, but you know, we'll have to wait and see. But yep, I'm lucky enough that my fiance is pre-ordering it for me for Christmas, so I have to wait a little bit longer than everybody else to actually play it, because she won't let me open it before then. I mean, because Father Christmas won't have delivered it before then. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to playing that around Christmas time. I've got a few days off. Teaching her, obviously, because she's a bit younger than me, she never really played any of these NES games, so it would be nice to show her some of the titles that I sort of grew up with, and see if she gets frustrated with them like I did. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know exactly what you think of the NES Classics Mini, if you think it's a waste of their time or it's a bit overhyped or anything. Some people are thinking so, but Nintendo tend to be clever with these sort of things, so I think it's going to be a great thing. So yeah, please comment and check out any other videos I've put out recently, and please subscribe if you haven't already, and look forward to hearing from you. Cheers guys.